From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, the search for a missing 22-year-old Billings woman is over. The body found along the Yellowstone River this past weekend is now officially identified as 22-year-old Amelia Rose Brooks. Sheriff Mike Linder says an autopsy completed today found no signs of foul play. A hunter found Brooks' body near Arrow Island Park Saturday morning, her body heavily decomposed. Brooks was apparently last seen at a home in the Billings Heights on October 13th and reported missing to police 2 days later. Linder says her cause of death is pending toxicology reports, which could take a few months to complete. Now, Amelia's friends and family searched for her for 7 weeks. There is now a GoFundMe account set up to help with her funeral expenses. You can find that link within this story, as well as an address to send donations at ktvq.com. Well, Billings police are looking for a suspect who fled on foot last night after shooting a man multiple times and leaving him to die in the street, where he was eventually run over by a passing car. Now, the shooting happened outside a church on the 500 block of Broadwater Avenue just before 9 o'clock. Police say the 30-year-old male victim died on scene. Police say no arrests have been made, and so far they do not have a suspect description to share. The driver is not believed to be related to the shooting and told officers the victim was lying in the street when he ran him over. The man's name has not yet been released. The autopsy is set for tomorrow. Well, in the battle against COVID-19, 16 more Montanans have lost the fight. The state death toll due to COVID-related illnesses now stands at 733. Now, county health authorities reported more than 950 new cases today, and more than 15,000 cases remain active across the state. And in Wyoming, the state health department announced 15 new COVID-19 related deaths today. All of those deaths came in the last month. Fremont County with 4 victims and Laramie County with 3. The death toll in the Cowboy State now stands at 230, with more than 29,000 confirmed cases. Well, Montana cities and towns have been on the front lines responding with law enforcement, first responders, and public health workers. But within the past week, the Bullock administration decided to greatly limit their remaining share of federal coronavirus relief funds. MTN's Mike Dennison has details.
The administration had agreed cities and counties would get $300 million in federal CARES Act money this year to help cover COVID-19 related expenses, including law enforcement salaries, contact tracers, and fill-ins for essential employees not able to come to work. But now the Bullock administration says it will be only $200 million, and most of that is already spent. The extra $100 million instead will go to grants to impacted businesses and enhanced unemployment benefits for those out of work. Missoula County Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer says the change caught local governments by surprise.
I think there's frustration across the state from local governments in terms of we had been working under a certain set of assumptions for quite some time, and to, on a dime, make a course correction here is not easy.
Cities and counties can still request reimbursements through December 31st, but for only limited expenses and likely only up to $10 million statewide. The Bullock administration says local governments weren't going to spend all of the $300 million anyways, and that much of that money paid for salaries already in city and county budgets. Strohmeyer said the state certainly calls the shots on how to allocate this money, but that he hopes enough remains to cover vital COVID-19 costs for cities and counties this year.
I guess the proof will be in the pudding as far as how this plays out in the next few weeks.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks so much, Mike. Now, so far this year, the Bullock administration says it has awarded $919 million of the state's $1.25 billion in federal COVID-19 relief funds. Well, if you are struggling with the ongoing impacts of COVID-19, there is a new hotline to help. Governor Steve Bullock announced a new crisis counseling line this morning. If you are in need of counseling, you can call 1-877-503-0833 Monday through Friday. That line is open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Well, in Billings, the local food bank served hundreds of people today with its Farm to Trunk event. No questions asked. Everyone who showed up at the food bank got a box of dairy, produce, and protein. Q2's Mitch Laggy shows us.
Staff at the Billings Food Bank have seen a steady stream of cars coming through to pick up a free food box at the Farm to Trunk event. Staff say that they've been able to help out 400 Billings area residents so far on Tuesday. The Farm to Trunk events use food donated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the food bank's stock, and a program called FarmLink, which connects unsold crops on area farms to places that need them, like the food bank. Billings volunteers have brought Farm to Trunk boxes to the Billings area and surrounding communities several times over the past year, and they've always had a high turnout. Thanks to a $25,000 donation received Tuesday from the Delta Dental Insurance Company, the food bank can keep its stock full to help the community as it heads into another uncertain year amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
It certainly helps us acquire a lot of food. I mean, we're buying food now because, food's starting to get short. Some items are getting to be scarce or at least rationed. And so we're trying to stock up as much as possible because we're not really sure what the new year is going to bring. And, I think we're still going to have a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. And so we're trying to get our larders stocked so we're prepared.
Shandy said the Billings Food Bank is always looking for more volunteers and donations. For more information, find this story at ktvq.com. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Mitch. Now, the Farm to Trunk event is on again for the next 2 days at the food bank. People can receive a food box from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2112 4th Avenue North. Well, one of the newest endowments within the Billings Education Foundation is named in honor of Barney Myers. Myers died in September, just 8 days short of his 110th birthday. Without a doubt, as one of the greatest teachers Montana has ever seen. Q2's Casey Conlon asked the group who created the memorial gift what made Myers so worthy.
Ask for stories about Barney Myers, and you'll get a list straight out of the Most Interesting Man in the World catalog.
Motorcycle trips through Amarillo to driving a Yellowstone bus.
He competed as part of a 4x100 relay team in the Big Sky Games. I think he was 102.
I never had a math teacher as good as Barney. At Stanford, at Columbia, anywhere.
That's what you'll hear most, that Myers, who spent nearly 40 years teaching math across Montana, the final 31 of them at Billings Senior, was one of the great minds of his time.
He was teaching mathematical concepts that were just almost being discovered as they were coming along, and he would go study at Johns Hopkins and University of Oklahoma and other places to learn these concepts in order to bring them back.
I was a good math student and went on in college to study under one of the 20th century's most renowned mathematicians. He was a very good teacher, but Barney Myers was far better.
But your favorite teacher in school has always gone beyond the material. For one of Butler Hall's high school friends, it was Myers' character when no one else was watching.
Both of her parents declined with Alzheimer's or some kind of dementia. She said, the one thing that I think of when I remember Barney was that he visited my dad every single week until he died.
For others, it was Myers' work starting the school's cross-country program. After Butte won the initial state title in 1964, Senior won the next 5.
What was it like with him as a coach?
It was a lot like being with him as a teacher. He was pretty low-key. He was kind. I mean, you just went out and to Pioneer Park, and he was out there with his stopwatch. That photograph of him standing there was his stopwatch, and it's classic. That's Barney as I remember him.
You'll notice most of Myers' photos from his time at Senior paint a stoic portrait. Breaking through it was always the #1 goal.
Our greatest challenge in accelerated math was to try to get this calm, low-key fellow to crack a smile.
He didn't laugh or smile very often, but when he did, it just lit up your life.
That's what Myers lived for, and the reason the group thought the endowment would be the perfect tribute. Budgets are tighter than ever for public school teachers, and the grants will fund projects and ideas that will inspire generations of students for years to come.
He was definitely in that mode where he was always passing along wisdom or thoughts or learnings. He was the great-great-great-grandson of people who fought in the Revolutionary War for the Maryland Regiment. And so you just think of the context of what he was able to see and the newness of the country and what that meant from 1910 to 2020.
His legacy will now cover far more. Casey Conlon, MTN News.
Thanks, Casey. Very nice. Well, if you'd like to donate to the Barney Myers Classroom Grant, you can go to givebutter.com/Barney Myers. Up next on tonight's MTN 530 News here on Q2, the month of November proved the deadliest on the COVID-19 front in Montana. We'll dive into the numbers and learn more about what drove the spread. And in sports, title chasers will meet two Rocky runners that have the Battling Bears cross-country team looking to make noise at nationals.
And coming up in weather on this, the first day of meteorological winter, we had a few snow flurries, but it looks like we'll continue to remain cool for the next day or so, right on through Wednesday. It's not going to be nearly as windy, but here's the good news. We'll be cooking up for the weekend. Temperatures getting above seasonal norms. We'll talk about it in a few minutes.